All right, let's jump right into this explainer. You know that feeling when you're just drifting? You're navigating a life full of doubts and struggles, and you're thinking, is there an actual concrete guide to finding some clarity here? Well, today, we're unpacking something mind-bending. We're going to look at how the sheer vastness of the cosmos is intimately, directly connected to your daily habits, your thoughts, and ultimately, your success.
We're kicking things off with a journey that literally bridges the gap between the very edge of the universe and the thoughts firing in your head right now. I know, it sounds a bit like a sci-fi movie, right? But think about this. What if the ancient sages, sitting in deep meditation thousands of years ago, were actually tapping into the exact same reality that modern quantum physicists are just now observing in high-tech labs? If we can really wrap our heads around this connection, it offers us an incredibly profound and practical art of living peacefully.
So to get a grip on our place in reality, we've got to start with the ancient Upanishadic concept of Brahman. Picture a time before creation. No space, no stars, no earth, just the great void. But here's the catch. It wasn't empty. This unmanifested reality is what Hindu philosophy calls Brahman. It's pure, indivisible consciousness. Think of it like a tiny seed. Before a seed actually sprouts, it doesn't look like much, does it? But packed inside that tiny little shell is the entire complex blueprint for a massive tree. Brahman is that ultimate reality. It holds the blueprint for everything. The galaxies, the vast oceans, and yes, you.
And that brings us to a brilliant way to picture the concept of Atman, or your individual soul. In the Hindu tradition, Atman isn't just similar to Brahman, it's actually the exact same essence. If Brahman is this vast, endless ocean, well, you are a single drop of water from that ocean. Think about it. A single drop isn't really separate from the ocean, is it? It holds the exact same chemical makeup, the exact same qualities as the whole churning sea. It essentially proves that your deepest self is fundamentally, literally identical to the ultimate reality of the universe.
Now here's where things get absolutely fascinating. Modern researchers are actively mapping out these wild parallels between ancient concepts, specifically a philosophy called Advaita Vedanta, and the latest discoveries in quantum physics. Advaita Vedanta teaches non-duality. It's the idea that the boundary between the observer and the observed is just an illusion. Now fast forward a few millennia to modern science, and we have wave-particle duality. This is where particles literally exist as a wave of probabilities until they are observed. So both of these paradigms, even though they're separated by thousands of years, completely shatter our basic everyday notions of how reality works.
Let's look at quantum entanglement for a second. In physics, when two particles become entangled, the state of one instantaneously influences the state of the other, and this happens no matter how many light years apart they are. It's wild. It completely upends our conventional understanding of separate, localized objects. Basically, science is showing us that separation is an illusion, and this perfectly echoes that ancient wisdom that everything in the universe is deeply, permanently intertwined. Plus, the observer effect in quantum mechanics strongly implies that reality is quite literally shaped by the preceding consciousness. Your perception actually matters.
So the real crux of this is the principle of as above, so below. Because consciousness shapes reality, you are quite literally a reflection of the entire cosmos. Chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita spells this out, telling us our body is a miniature universe. Just as the massive universe is governed by physical laws, your inner universe is governed by the same ultimate spirit. You're not just some tiny, insignificant cog in a giant cosmic machine. You are the universe experiencing itself.
Okay, so let's bring this down to earth. How does knowing this build a foundation for overcoming the daily doubts and struggles we all deal with? Well, if you are a miniature universe, then taking control of your life means taking control of your inner cosmos. Realizing our cosmic connection isn't some excuse to just zone out and do nothing. Actually, it's the exact opposite. It empowers us to take focused, meaningful action right here in the real world, and that starts with focused study and doing the actual work.
Which leads us straight into the core teachings of Chapter 17 of the Bhagavad Gita. This chapter applies that as above, so below principle directly to the science of your own mind. Remember the quantum observer effect we just talked about? The whole idea that consciousness shapes reality? The Gita gives it to us straight. We are the creation of our own thoughts and desires. Because you are seamlessly plugged into the fabric of reality, every single thought you hold is sending ripples right through the quantum field. So if you constantly entertain doubts, you're actively building a future made of doubt. To actually master our thoughts, and by extension our future, we have to understand the psychological forces driving them. Hindu philosophy breaks this down into 3 gears of nature, called gunas, that drive every single action we take. First up is sattva, which is goodness. It brings peace, balance, and clarity. Next is rajas, or passion. This is your ambition, your drive, but if it gets unbalanced, it just leads to restlessness and greed. And finally, there's tamas, which is ignorance, manifesting as laziness and confusion. Every single day, whether we realize it or not, we are shifting between these three gears. The trick is to minimize tamas, the laziness and procrastination, and instead leverage the positive, energetic drive of rajas, all while keeping it grounded with the balance of sattva. Do that, and you can achieve incredible things. Chapter 17 lays out this incredibly straightforward secret to success. 1. Keep your focus entirely on what you want. 2. Have firm determination and never ever give up. 3. Do not let negative thoughts or laziness stand in your way. And 4. This is my personal favorite, because we are all interconnected drops in the same cosmic ocean. If you want your dream to be fulfilled, go help fulfill someone else's dream. It's literally the ultimate networking secret, but it's grounded in the actual laws of physics and karma.
Now you might be wondering, how do we work so hard without getting completely stressed out about the future? There's this brilliant thought that captures the answer perfectly. Think of a farmer. A farmer can plow the field, plant the seeds, and water the soil, but he can't command the rain, right? He can't force the sun to shine. He has absolutely no control over the actual harvest. But, and here's the kicker, if he doesn't work his land with his absolute best effort, a harvest is impossible. It's a reminder that we are called to do our absolute best right now in the present moment, while entirely letting go of our selfish attachment to the final results.
And that highlights the profound difference between selfish action and what the Gita calls karma yoga. When you do things strictly for your own selfish gain, you might see a quick burst of temporary success, but ultimately, it just leads to frustration, greed, and a totally restless, anxious mind. You end up trapped by the results. But karma yoga is the path of selfless service. When you do your duty for the greater good of society, realizing that you're part of this massive, interconnected whole, it burns away all that past baggage. It brings permanent peace and satisfaction. It literally turns ordinary, everyday work into a form of worship.
So, how do we actually put all this together in the real world? Chapter 17 gives us this amazingly practical checklist for the daily art of peaceful living. It advises eating healthy, sattvic foods to keep your body primed and well. It tells us to speak the truth, but to always do it in a pleasant and kind way. It encourages giving charity wisely to deserving places, and treating your daily work as a selfless service. And finally, repeating a mantra like Om Tat Sat before and after a task helps center your mind. It wipes away the ego and grounds you right back into that incredible cosmic connection we started with.
We've covered a lot of ground today. We've traveled from the explosive origins of the cosmos and the mind-bending mysteries of quantum mechanics, all the way down to your daily diet and how you talk to your neighbors. Both science and ancient texts agree on this one massive truth. You are not separate from the world around you. You are deeply, fundamentally entangled with it. So, I want to leave you with this final thought to really chew on. If you are indeed a miniature universe holding immense, literal cosmic power in your everyday choices, what kind of future are you going to create with your thoughts today? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep wondering, keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next one.